Full-Time Devils season preview. It's a three-parter today. Let's get stuck straight in and talk new signings. We have, of course, added Aaron Wan-Bissaka.
This could be quick.
Daniel James and Harry Maguire to the squad. Guys, let's talk about those defensive signings in particular to start with. Just how much do Wan-Bissaka and Maguire improve us, Howson?
And just in case you don't know, that's Jay, that's Steve, that's Gaz, and I'm Adam.
Everyone knows.
That's a good introduction, Adam.
Look, everyone watching this knows who these lot are.
Do they?
No,
Get stuck in.
All right, Wan-Bissaka is absolutely double mint. His 1v1 tackling is a piss take. I heard of one of the lads in the squad who said, "You just can't get past him," which I like because it's iron sharpens iron, innit? Like, they're going to figure out how to get past him, and he's going to continue to develop as well, trying to figure out
That's a good point,
whatever comes at him, and I like that. Harry Maguire, I like what he does aerially. I think we've massively liked that. That's the big weakness that I can put on Lindelof. I think Lindelof defends the channels brilliantly. That's why he's looked so good in Europe for me. But when he comes up against like the likes of Burton and stuff, was the teams that give him trouble because they just go right down the pipe with him. And that's where I think he struggles. So I think if he's got someone who can take that away from him a little bit and deal with that, mop that up, I think he's going to look good as well. We've absolutely levelled up our defence. I think that's the top and bottom of it. And I think that gives us more confidence going forward. And arguably, we probably still need a little bit of cover in certain areas. We need to get rid of about half a dozen centre-halves. But I think we've levelled up, and I think that's all anyone can hope for. We've actually signed 2 players, and it is only 2 because I don't think Dan James counts for this one, but we have actually signed 2 players to improve the first 11. And that's the first time in a while that we've done that.
Definitely improves the defence, and that was, would you say, our priority for this summer?
I think, well, when you right back and centre half means defence was priority as a whole. But I think once we'd signed Aaron Wan-Bissaka, I think a holding midfielder for United was as important as a centre half. And that's why I'm a little bit worried going into the season. Now, as we record, the transfer window is still open for a little bit longer, but it doesn't look like we're going to do any more business. So you're thinking we've spent 50 million on Wan-Bissaka. I'm happy with that. I think we'll get our money's worth for him as much as you can when you're spending 50 million these days. He'll be our first choice right back for the foreseeable future. You'd like to think, touch wood, no injuries or anything like that. Harry Maguire will obviously be one of those players that starts week in, week out as well. And I think the return of Axel Tuanzebe also strengthens our defence. It looks like he's not going anywhere. We were told earlier in the summer that he might be going out on loan again, but it looks like he's not going anywhere. So overall, our defence has improved, and you'd like to think David De Gea is not going to be as bad as he was last season. The problem is the amount of business we've done and not the business we've done. The business we've done is very good. Daniel James even adds something from the bench and adds a player that can, provide a little spark or provide a little bit of pace when players are tired in the last 10, 15. But yeah, it's just the amount of business we've done, and it's not been enough. One more player would have been reasonable.
I think that improving the defence will make a massive difference to next season. I mean, Keno said recently, didn't he, Jay, that, as long as you improve your defence, that is your most important part of the team. Improve your defence and see where you can go from there.
Exactly. I mean, it's mad to think that since Fergie retired, all the shiny new signings we've had, the likes of Sanchez's, the Di Marias, the Falcaos and all the rest of it, we still...
Say it again.
Exactly.
Oh, no.
Mate, we still had a 33-year-old, a 30-odd-year-old winger, whether it's Valencia or Young, at right back. Our best right back was probably Raphael, and we sold him. And then, Daley Blint comes in, does a decent job, we get rid of him. And you've got all these players, like centre-backs, Howson was mentioning then, we've got, half a dozen centre-backs you can't rely on. They're either injury-prone or not good enough.
It's like that song about sitting it, 55 players that are no fucking good. We've got, 95 centre-halves that are no fucking good.
Exactly. And it's like now you've got a centre-half in who I rate, I wanted us to get him. Yes, we've overpaid, but that's the price you've got to pay. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, for me, probably the best right-back in the Premier League. Yeah, ever. I'd say that's ever played football.
Ever. Left or right-back?
Just best player, actually. Let's just have it right. Best player in the history of association football. So 50 million
Post-war.
Fair enough. Post-war, yeah.
There's still going to be people in the comments thinking you're serious. There still is.
Oh, fucking man. 5 years deep, we can't make a fucking joke. Jesus Christ. Lighten up, you boring pricks. Jesus Christ.
If we were serious on here every week, there would have been at least a couple of killings.
I'm in a pub talking shit with my mates. This is not a TED Talk, right? No one's in court here. I haven't sworn on a Bible, and I only touched Gaz's cock a little bit.
Right, well, we've seen what sort of mood Howson's in today. Let's have a bit of positivity. I'd say that this is the strongest Manchester United defence since Sir Alex Ferguson retired.
That's not fucking hard.
Agreed, and possibly in the Premier League.
What?
But there's a few too many question marks.
At the moment?
Yeah.
Right, I'm with you.
You say it's the best defence in the Premier League?
Possibly the best.
Like,
Possibly.
Back four.
Is that the best?
Current.
Yeah,
Current.
that's what you're saying.
Not ever. Forever, ever. Listen,
It's
he's got
close, but not quite forever.
David De Gea. Look, in comparison to other goalkeepers, you wouldn't swap David De Gea for many.
Well, look,
if
if
any.
you're
I wouldn't
saying
swap David De Gea
you've
for
got to
anyone.
compare him to
I'm
City,
listening.
Liverpool.
Yeah, I am. This is what I'm doing, Gaz.
Go on.
Would you swap David De Gea for Alisson or Edison?
No.
They're very good goalkeepers, by the way.
People forget, you mentioned David De Gea had a bad season. He didn't. He had a bad 3 months. Against Spurs, we were all raving about how amazing he was and
All right.
the best player in the world.
Wan-Bissaka, top 3 right back.
Yeah, I wouldn't swap
in the
him
league.
for anyone.
Wouldn't swap him.
Alexander-Arnold had better output going forward last season, but defensively, not as good as Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Centre-half, Maguire. Van Dijk's the best centre-half in the league. Laporte is probably just behind him. But Maguire can fight with them for top 3,
Yeah.
top 5 centre-halves
He's in the mix.
in the league.
Yeah.
Victor Lindelof, question mark if he
Yeah,
can keep up the
still not
consistency. Luke Shaw as well. If Luke Shaw and Lindelof play as well as we know they can for a season, and Maguire has a good impact on leading the line, and De Gea returns to form, there's a good shout that we could have the best defence.
Would you say that's the best centre-back pairing in the league? Maguire and...
in the league?
Yeah, in the
I don't know. Still think there's questions about Lindelof. I think he looked great last season, don't get me wrong, and I think Luke Shaw looked good last season as well.
I don't
But
know.
there's question marks about those 2 players still. Who
Well,
could go
Laporte
either way.
and Stones is pretty good.
Yeah.
Potentially pretty good, but they've got errors in them. I
They
actually
have.
think
Yeah,
our
they
back
do.
4 is better on the whole than City's. And we're probably going to concede way more than
They
City.
got better depth.
But-
That's the problem.
Well, you say that. What
The
about
way
our
both
depth in
teams
defence? We've got great depth in defence.
Stop it.
Two on Zebe at the back. We've
mean,
got
it's-
Delo as well looking to come in. We've got some good
But then
players there.
after the low, we've got Young.
Admittedly, you've got players like that, but surely we're going to get rid of 1 or 2 of them before the
Do
season.
you know what? I don't think he's going this season. I think Delo's right on the out.
What?
I think, he's a very good player, but I think he definitely doesn't fit
I don't
what
deal,
Solskjaer's
though.
trying to do.
Oh, I don't know about that. I think you've got your defensive option with your full-back and wan-bissaka. It's good to have the different option
So
with the lad.
you've got a fullback there in Delo whose pretty much main attribute is that he's a top crosser of the ball. We don't cross the ball. Have a look how much we've crossed under Jose, how much we cross now, and the players that we're selecting. We're not a crossing
Well, what
team.
we are seeing
We're a
is
team
our
that plays
fullbacks.
it into the box.
More inverted.
Our
a little bit of
fullbacks are pushing forward a lot more, so they'll have more area to cross the ball, and he looks more comfortable in attack when he gets forward as well, and that could help him. And I wouldn't be surprised to see him used as part of our from free when we're chasing games sometimes.
So that worries me. I think we've got
Yeah,
9.
yeah,
I think we've
Not
got
that we
9
should,
forward,
like, but
further
imagine Chong's just played for the 23s, or Mace has had a game and he's not. Then you could always chuck that on.
Going on to our third signing then of the summer, potentially last. I'd say it's about 50-50 whether we bring anyone new in now. Dan James, he's looked really impressive in pre-season.
It is the first one of the summer, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, the
I
third
don't know
one
what
that
really
we're talking
impressive.
Yeah,
about
I
today.
think that's a bit much. I think he's looked exciting. I'd give you
Yeah,
that.
okay.
I think really impressive.
Yeah.
Only if he'd actually delivered in the final third. because
Raw.
His final third is actually leaving a lot to be desired, but he's getting into really good positions. His press is excellent. Although I actually saw a couple of times Marshall having to make him to initiate the press for him, which I thought was interesting. I didn't expect to see Tony Marshall doing that.
Mate,
I think he's just got a lot more to
You better
deliver in the
expect it.
final third. If he can start putting some quality in the final third, then I think he'll be a real threat. And I think the best thing for him is to come on against tired defences, because that's ridiculous, the pace that he's got. Last 20 minutes, something like that. Can you imagine him against the
Well,
defence?
you remember when Rashford and Martial used to do that? One of them would come off and the other one would come on with winning games 4-0 under Jose. That brief little moment.
Come on and score.
we'd be winning them 1-0, and then
Yeah.
Rashford or Marshall would come on and
That's
it'd
what I
just
mean,
open
like,
the
you're a
game.
fullback, you're knackered, and then Andy Martial comes on, or you're fullback, you're knackered, and Daniel James comes on. You must be fucking dreading that.
So is
I
that-
think that's the answer? Yeah.
Is that what you think his place in the team is going to be then, that sort of fringe player coming off the bench? Or
Yeah.
do you not think he can power his way into the
I mean,
starting
he's
11?
21. We have
Yeah.
this expectation now. If you're 21, you're ready made. That's it. You should be at the top level, and you should be first team for Manchester United. Well,
Yeah.
It's a lot of nonsense. Look at Jesse Lingard, for example.
It annoys me when everyone uses
like 3, top
Mbappe
4.
as a comparison. It's like he's literally the best young player in world football. It's like not everyone's going to be that.
I mean, look at Rooney.
Weird.
Look at Ronaldo. Like at one point in Rooney's career, he was, you know, if you said Ronaldo's going to have a better career than Rooney, people would have pissed themselves laughing at
France
you.
used to go mad at Ronaldo.
Show pony.
And all the rest
My dad,
of it,
one-trick pony.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember that.
No, can you imagine, like, some of you lot that are too young now, like 10, 12, 13-year-olds, you're going to be like, listen, at one point, children, Ronaldo had no end product. Right? On a serious note, that was what people used to say.
I remember that thing where Rooney
Kid's got
would,
no end product.
Rooney would get into a great
Can't get
position and
across
then
it,
just shoot and miss.
Just fucking has 100 shots, doesn't score any fucking goals, and then had more end product than any other footballer ever.
So what you're saying is Daniel James is going to be better than Rooney and Ronaldo?
Yeah, quite right.
Do you think Daniel James is going to be better than Rooney and Ronaldo, Adam?
Sunday.
Not this season, maybe. Maybe eventually.
Probably.
But I mean, if the memories I have of Wayne Rooney's last year's weren't great, so possibly. But no, on a serious note, Daniel James.
How's he done?
You got to consider as well, Daniel James. His whole world flipped upside down. His father died as he was signing for United. So not only has he's moved city, he's moved club. He's a young lad, but he's had that whole personal heartache as well. So it's been a lot for him to move to Manchester United, and I think he's taken it in his stride quite well. He's handling it. He must have been, being out in Singapore and China and Australia and people just going nuts there when he could have walked through the whole Swansea squad last season and no one would have cared. And so everything changing for him, he's taken it quite well. I do think he's someone we'll see from the bench. And it is an interesting one because had we have not got Daniel James, I don't think our squad is missing a whole lot because you can still bring in a Tahith Chong or someone like that. But he is a player that gives us something. He gives us something, a proper wide player as well, that we lack a lot of. We've been lacking fullbacks, we've been lacking a proper centre-half, but we've also been lacking some real width. Most of the players that play wide for us in the past few years have been Martial, Rashford, Lingard, Mata. Players that aren't really wingers at all.
Inside forwards, aren't they? Old school sense of the word.
I think you look at Dan James as well, and it's nice to see a player who really wants to play for Manchester United. So now on to something completely different.
What are you trying to say, Gav?
Paul Pogba. He's staying. Do you think that's as good as a new signing?
Don't know if you can say that with such certainty.
He's staying. He's not going this summer.
It looks like Paul Pogba's staying this summer. So
Still 3 weeks left for him to go.
Now, there's no way we let him go outside
Not
the
if we,
window.
especially if we don't bring in anyone else.
I mean, I think he's staying, but I don't think you can sit here with such certainty, Gary.
I can. Pogba's staying. Do you think that's as good as a new
He does
signing?
work for the BBC now, so what we can do is say
Gaz of the BBC.
No,
Paul
you
Pogba
can't.
commits future to Manchester United. BBC sources confirm.
that Paul Pogba is staying.
I have no sources, just tomato and barbecue. Adam, is he as good as a new signing? I know you love him.
No, it's not as good as a new signing.
Wait,
We already had him in the team.
is Paul Pogba a new signing?
Is Paul Pogba as good as a new signing? Is keeping
Absolutely
Paul Pogba
not.
as good
Next
as a new
question.
signing? What do you mean?
That's what I mean. You know what? We lost Fellaini, we've lost Herrera, we're losing Lukaku. We need to replace those players in the team. We haven't replaced two of those midfielders. So there's no way that one of our current midfielders, I'm pretending it's a new signing because that is stupid.
Mate,
Well,
that's
how
some mental arithmetic that
how
I can't even
important-
think.
That's what Ed Wood was. That's why they signed someone.
Okay,
Everyone's gone, and Pogba's like a new signing. Gaz from the BBC said so.
Okay, let me frame that one different. Is it just as important keeping Paul Pogba as it is getting new signings in? Because I think that it is. If we lost him this summer, we would have been in a right state in midfield.
Yes and no, because Pogba is our best midfielder. But he's not a game-controlling midfielder that we'd all want him to be. If we'd have brought in, we was rumoured with Eriksen for about 10 hours, weren't we? If we'd have brought in someone like an Eriksen, that is a man that can control a game. Think back to his Juventus days. You had Vidal doing the running around like a madhead role. You had Pirlo, who was the game-controlling midfielder. Pogba gives you the match-winning element to it.
Yes.
And I think that if you bring in someone like an Eriksen, I don't know who the madhead running around like a dick is, but you could have the match-winning element with
McTominay.
Pogba.
Maybe.
Yeah, so that's what I think you sort of
Or
need
Fred.
with Pogba. He's not your game-controlling midfielder. He is a match-winning midfielder. He comes in and adds the spice once someone's giving you that little bit of quality in there. He's not like a new signing. But if he'd have gone and we'd have got a really good fee for him, which is what I think the club was holding out for, if we'd have replaced him, that might have been a good thing because we could have gone in a totally different direction that doesn't revolve around Paul Pogba, but I also don't have the confidence in this board to be able to adequately replace him when we've not even adequately replaced fucking Marouane Fellaini.
Or Herrera. Or Lukaku when he goes.
Yeah, who's definitely going.
So we've strengthened our defence, but in summary, our whole team has got weaker.
Well, no doubt we'll find
Unless these youngsters come through, which we're going to talk about in a separate part of the debate.
We have a youngsters part of this debate coming up. But, Jay, do we even think Paul Pogba wants to be at Manchester United?
I don't think he necessarily wants to be here, but I think what we've seen in pre-season is he's shown professionalism. He's got on with it.
But will he do that throughout the season? This is what
I don't think people give Pogba enough credit at times. I know I'm going to get a lot of stick for this because people, he's lazy and all this, he don't want to be here, he's done me out and all the rest of it. But I think he does try, and I think he will try, and I think that if he's got any sense as well, he knows that if he wants a big money move to Real Madrid, he has another good season. I think there's an element for this, for me, of Fergie with Ronaldo in his last season, saying to him, listen, you give me 2008, 2009, just one more season, try and retain the Champions League, you go to Madrid in the summer.
We're trying to retain the Champions League?
I fucking wish we were in it.
Try and regain Europa. The mighty Europa.
Get Europa, and then you can have your big money to Madrid.
Put another one in the trophy cabinet.
I think there's an element of that though, just like, give me a season, you can go in the summer.
Right,
that's what'll happen.
This is the Full-Time Devils season preview ahead of the 2019-20 season. We'll be back next with your second part. We're talking youngsters, a lot of exciting youngsters in this United team. See you there.